Hi coaches, Lee Dunn here with another game of the week for you. This week we're looking at 1v1s building up to 3v3s. So you see the way the field's set up, we're probably looking at about 30 or 25 by, same again, 20 or 15. So a regular size field for all the rest of the game of the week, so we're always looking at enough just for this game heading into 3v3. So we may seem big with the 1v1s to start with, but it'll end up certainly nice and tight by the time we get into 3v3. Coaching position, as always, we're looking on the side, goals at the ends, and then plenty of soccer balls. Now you see each player has a soccer ball, but you could also start with one side without the balls. If you don't have enough soccer balls, or if you want to change the game up, and I'll explain that for you shortly. We don't have a time limit on this game because it's a case of playing to the ball going in or going out of play that activates the next player. So you'll see we have our red player down here starting with a soccer ball, the squiggly line is the dribble coming into the game, playing 1v1 against the blue. Of course, we want the red to score. I've got in this image dribbling off to the left so that it attracts the blue player in, which leaves this space out here to drive into and score from. Hopefully an easy goal for the 1v1. If the blue gets the ball, they just simply counter and score down in this goal here. Now, we've started here with the red team, so I'm going to activate the red team. Whatever happens in this game, the ball goes out of play, the ball goes in the goal, this next red will join in the game. So then instantly they'll become a 2v1. You know that they have the ball at their feet right there, so they dribble into the game and play. Assuming the red player scored from this example over here, then we'll have a red that will position themselves here for a 2v1 against this blue that will stay in the game now. So as the 2v1 happens, our player will be out here. This player is now the one that's in the game. 2v1 happens, we play the game, score a goal, blue scores a goal, and this is where you can adapt the game to suit however you want to play. So you could have this blue up here join in the game and make it a 2v2 because they have the ball at their feet to start and dribble in, so the game goes both ways. Or you could then say that blue is allowed to join the game, come on in without the ball to act as the second blue defender, and then this red here is going to dribble into the game and they'll play a 3v2. So you can adjust the rules how you want to. I like to have both teams counter because then there's elements of transition too, where the red team have had the ball and now suddenly the blue team have the ball. Try and make it as relative to the game as possible. But either way, after the 3v2, to get our third blue player in, they are going to have the ball and they're going to be bringing the ball into the game. So they will be starting with the ball anyway. Then once the game is over, once you've gone kind of 3v3 and played through, you could then have another ball come in and play a solid straight up 3v3, or you can just have them reset and then have the blue team start with the ball. So roles are reversed. So the gameplay is fast and furious, and that's why we don't have a time limit on it, because a 1v1, a 2v2, and so on happen very quickly. And in elements of the game, they're over very quickly, 3 seconds, 4 seconds, 5 seconds. So we encourage the speed of play. And especially knowing that our players are waiting for the ball to come on the field, they should be very quick in scoring so they can get their teammate on the field quickly. So looking at 1v1s, we cover 1v1s in other games of the week too, but we're considering how this player, the red player, is attacking the blue. Do they dribble straight at them? As I said earlier, we're encouraging a dribble to the side so that it starts creating space elsewhere. This is the space that they can start exploiting. When we look to add in our second player, if we've got our second player that's already in here, now there's plenty of space between them. We try not to be in straight lines, or the straight line theory that this square pass is easy for a blue player to jump forwards and cut out. So our red player is going to find themselves in a position of support or a position of advance. But be careful, and you can start implementing, this is why this is kind of a nice position to be in for the coach, start implementing an element of an offside line too. So if our red player suddenly starts going and standing up here, then I would be instantly calling offside, just to keep the players honest and keep it as relative to the game as possible. Do they have to pass as a 2v1? Absolutely not. We don't want them to pass. We want to encourage them to dribble if they can. Now, of course, the dribble brings in the defender, which will then allow space for the pass. But often players will start with the ball, as this red is doing down here, and the teammate over here, and they instantly want to pass the ball, and there's no reason for it. We can encourage the blue to come and press us, and that will create even more space for the red player to attack. And then just to touch on having our third player, so our third player, red there, we've got the blue that's come on to make it a 3v2, and then we would look to have our other red out there. So we have this beautiful shape, this triangle shape. Now, of course, these two are already in the game. So this triangle shape encourages plenty of passing options for the players, but it also encourages movement too. So our red player here with the ball, we had the blue coming forwards, and it creates passing options. So the red, whilst the pass would be in front of the blue, if we position the blue up in this space right here where they're going to be covering, it does create a passing lane in between these two blues. And this is something really important. When our players will pass back and forth in front of the blues, and it becomes really easy for the blues to defend. But it's those quick passes that encourage the blue to come and try and steal it, and then that leaves the space, as I just highlighted in here, this space between the blue defenders. It's what we call a split pass, and that's the pass that we're really looking for, that kind of isolates two defenders from the game. Any passes in front of them become easy for them to stay compact and prevent the ball from going through. So to address the other side of the ball, looking at the positioning of the blue coming in as the defender, defending the goal, of course, but then we're looking at their control and restraint. Are they sprinting at the red player and losing control of themselves, and thus making it really easy for this red to just do a little cut past and score? Or are we then looking at also, are they standing in front of the goal, which then encourages the red to move all the way up the field and get close to our goal? Or can they accelerate and get out of the goal, get away and try and confront the defender as far up the attacker as far up the field as they can, therefore giving them a chance to try and win the ball back if they do miss the ball, or if they get beaten first time. There's plenty of space and more chance of the red missing if they can defend back. Adding in a second blue, joining in the game as they come in. Now they're providing some cover for each other. So we have our first player that's going to press the ball. Now what you'll find sometimes is they'll end up standing right next to each other, as in this image here. Now keeping them away from this parallel and having some support, so they're just off the back of the next blue. And the idea being that if this blue does get beaten, a second defender is there to cover. So when looking at the 3 versus 3, and you may get to this level, you may spend a lot of time working on the 1v1 and the 2v1, 2v2 element. 3v3 can get a little complex, and we look at our first defender, the player who's immediately putting pressure on the ball. Now, let's say our red player comes into play here. The best position for them right now is to cut off the pass that can go there. So we can create an isolation over here. And in doing so, our second defender is going to provide some cover here, and our third defender is actually going to just tuck inside here. So a nice tight little triangle. And the idea being that as the pressure comes in this way, it forces and it makes play predictable that a lot of youth players are actually going to make that pass. And what it means for this red is they know the ball is going to go there. We don't want them, and what a lot of players will do is they'll go and stand right here, and unfortunately that leaves for a little through ball in here for the blue to get around the red. But what we look for is for this red to maintain this distance away so that they can almost encourage and set the trap of the ball going to that player. And even better is that if it does get there before this red can jump in and steal the ball, then our first red that was applying the pressure now comes across and follows the ball, as does the second, and we've isolated this blue. They're on their own. We can try and win the ball, and at worst case, all they've got is a negative pass back to the blue, and then we're winning because they're far enough away from our goal down here that we're pushing them back from our goal, and we're organized. This red is super important for balance, that they don't go and stand next to this player, but they don't also drop further back. They stay in cover of this first player that's pressing the ball, and the reason for that is if they do get beaten and the ball does suddenly switch fields and go this way, then they're still in a position of support and a position of balance to win the ball back, and at least to provide pressure on the ball so that this blue can't score an easy goal from a direct shot after our team being out of shape. So there you see a game of 1v1 building up to 3v3 and the complexity that you can add to it. You can spend a lot of time in a practice focusing just straight up on this 1v1 and then the transition of instantly adding our second player in so they play a 2v1 and how our players react to that. As I said, I really like it when each player starts with a ball because then we have that element of transition that we've had our shot, we've lost the ball, however it works, there's another ball coming into play really quickly. I would encourage you to let the game go a couple of rounds so that the players get used to the game before you start trying to coach it. A lot of the time they'll be confused or they may, especially our third players, these ones here and these ones here, they may lose focus if the game is taking a while. So keep on top of it and make sure that games aren't lasting for a minute of 1v1, that it's quick and it's rapid of play so that the players are involved quickly. therefore their attention will stay, and then the positioning becomes really important, and their activation into the game. So it's very game-like. They've got the ball. How quickly can they impact the game? How much can they get forward? Can they score goals? So enjoy it, have fun with it, and certainly leave me a comment and let me know how it goes.